Hello, Charlotte. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you're doing well, wherever you're tuning in from. We'll give uh, we'll give it a few more minutes for the live to show up on the feed of others who are interested in. Toronto. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being the light that you are in the Toronto, Canada area. Oh yes, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I take great joy in revealing the truth and exposing the lies. I take great joy in that. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll go ahead and get started. I will share something that I've been seeing recently through the regular lives here on the channel. Something that I've seen recently that I want to mention before we get into more of the canonical text, the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua, is if you've ever heard a story in the news, if you've ever heard a story in the news about a parent that was told by divine source to murder their child, I'm reminded of the story of Abraham and how divine source told them to sacrifice their son, Isaac, but divine source brought a divine intervention and provided a ram in the bush for Abraham to sacrifice instead of sacrificing their son, him and Sarah's son, Isaac. So anyone who says, God told me to kill my children, God told me to murder my children, God told me to put them in the car and drive the car into the river, anyone who claims that divine source told them to murder their children, they are obviously lying. Okay? Because even in that story about Abraham, Isaac, and Sarah, divine source provided a way out for them. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. You're tuned into Esoteric Wisdom and Spiritual Truths. My name is Nehru. As we have been for the last several Sundays, we are going to be journeying further into the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua the Christ. This canonical text, or this text, was translated in the early 1900s and released in 1908 by E.S.DOWLING, Eva S. Dowling, and her publishing company in 1908. We are going to revisit the last chapter where we left off when Yeshua was receiving the 6th degree. They've gone through degrees 1 through 5, okay? And some of those degrees were heroism, was one. Sincerity was another. Okay. And so as they've gone through these different degrees and received these pentacles, and these merits, spiritual merits, they're now at a place, again, as we revisit the 53rd chapter where we left off last Sunday, they are now about to receive the sixth of these pentacles or these merits or these degrees. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Nehru. So in the 53rd chapter, we see in the preface or in the pretext, Yeshua passes the sixth brotherhood test and receives the sixth degree. In all the land, there was no place more grandly furnished than the beauty parlors of the temple of the sun. Few students ever entered these rich rooms. The priests regarded them with awe and called them halls of mysteries, halls of mysteries. When Yeshua had attained the victory over fear, that was one of the degrees, he gained the right to enter here. The guide, in verse 4, led on the way, and after passing many richly furnished rooms, they reached the hall of harmony. And here, Yeshua was left alone. Among the instruments of music was a harpsichord, and Yeshua sat in thoughtful mood, inspecting it, when quietly a maiden of entrancing beauty, someone who was gorgeous, came into the room. Okay. She did not seem to notice Yeshua as he sat and mused, so busy with his thoughts. Hello, all right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Verse 7, she found her place beside the harpsichord. She touched the chords most gently, and she sung the songs of Israel. For those of you who are tuning in, we are just revisiting the 53rd chapter before we continue on and pick up anew in the 54th chapter. And Yeshua was entranced, such beauty he had never seen. And he's talking about this lady. Such music he had never heard. The maiden sung her songs. She did not seem to know that anyone was near. Then she went her way. And Yeshua, talking with himself, said out, "What is the meaning of this incident? I did not know that such entrancing beauty and such queen-like loveliness were ever found among the sons of men. I did not know that voice of angel ever graced a human form, or that seraphic music ever came from human lips." I'm reminded of something that Luther Vandross, the R&B singer, Luther Vandross said about Dionne Warwick when he first heard her voice. He said that she had the voice of an angel. This is what Luther Vandross said about Dionne Warwick's voice. Verse 12, for days he sat entranced. The current of his thoughts was changed. He thought of nothing but the singer and her songs. He longed to see her once again, and after certain days she came. She spoke and laid her hand upon his head. Her touch thrilled all his soul, and for the time forgotten was the work that he was sent to do. Similar to Samson and Delilah. Someone's name could be Samson that you're connected with, or someone's name is Delilah. Verse 15. Few were the words the maiden said. She went her way, but then the heart of Yeshua had been touched. A love flame had been kindled in his soul, and he was brought to face the sorest trial of his life, the trial of love, or the trial of lust. He could not sleep nor eat. Thoughts of the maiden came, they would not go away. His carnal nature called aloud for his or for her companionship. Okay? His carnal nature, the carnal nature speaks to the hormones. Okay? His carnal nature called aloud for her companionship. Verse 18, and then he said, Lo, I have conquered every foe that I have met, and shall I now be conquered by this carnal love? My Father sent me here to show the power of love divine, not the power of love, the lust. The power of love divine. That love that reaches every living thing. Shall this pure universal love be all absorbed by carnal love? Shall I forget all creatures else? Lose my life in this fair maiden, though she is the highest type of beauty, purity, and love? Verse 21, into its very depths his soul was stirred and longed to be wrestled with this angel idol of his heart. And he long wrestled with this angel idol of his heart. But when the day was almost lost, his higher ego rose in might, higher wisdom. He found himself again, and then he said, although my heart shall break, I will not fail in this my hardest task. I will be victor over carnal love. And when again the maiden came and offered him her hand and heart, he said, fair one, beautiful lady, you might need to say beautiful man and give them this message. Your very presence thrill me with delight. Your voice is benediction to my soul. My human self would fly with you and be contented in your love. But all the world is craving for a love that I have come to manifest. And that is not a lustful love. Okay. And also there's something about him wanting to remain pure. But all the world is craving for a love that I have come to manifest. I must then bid you go, but we will meet again. Our ways on earth will not be cast apart. I see you in the hurrying throngs of earth as minister of love. You could be a music artist. You could write songs. You could write poems and be a minister of love. In that way, I hear your voice in song that wins the hearts of men to better things. And then in sorrow and in tears, the maiden went away, and Yeshua again was alone. And instantly, the great bells of the temple rang, the singer sung a new song, the grotto blazed with light, the Hierophant himself appeared and said, all hail, triumphant Logos. His new name was Logos Circle 7. This was Yeshua's new name, Logos Circle 7. In earlier chapters, we read that. His new name was no longer Issa, originally in Arabic, or Yeshua in Aramaic, but renamed on his journeys before the age of 30, renamed Logos Circle 7. You could be a life path 7. You could be born this lifetime in the month of July. All hail, triumphant Logos, hail. The conqueror of carnal love stands on the heights. And then he placed in Yeshua's hand a scroll on which was written, Love Divine, Love Divine. Together, they passed from the grotto of the beautiful, and in the banquet hall a feast was served, and Yeshua was the honored guest. Okay, going into chapter 54, that was a recap from the last. Chapter 53 was a recap from where we left off in the last reading. Thank you so much, everyone who's tuning in. So the preface is Yeshua becomes a private pupil of the Hierophant and is taught the mysteries of Egypt. Again, this is the thing. These are the things, these are the journeys that are not between Genesis and Revelation. A religious minister, and they are all over the world today at 10 a.m. or whatever time it is in their country. Religious ministers all around the world today are teaching people, beings, that Yeshua was subject to his mother and father for 18 years and then suddenly started a ministry at the age of 30. That is a lie. This is the reason why I often encourage us to put the Bible down, because that is man manufactured. Man put between Genesis and Revelation what they choose to put between Genesis and Revelation, hiding these canonical texts for many years, decades, centuries, preventing them from being released to the general public. And even still today, even this text that we read now, the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua, is not a widely published text. I'm thankful that Divine Source brought it to me. Okay. So Yeshua becomes a private pupil to the Hierophant and is taught the mysteries of Egypt. In passing the 7th test, he works in the chamber of the dead. Verse 1, the senior course of study now was opened up, and Yeshua entered and became a pupil of the Hierophant. He learned the secrets of the mystic lore of Egypt land, the mysteries of life and death, and of the worlds beyond the circle of the sun. The worlds beyond the circle of the sun. What does that speak to? Other universe, other galaxies, esoteric, 5, not just 5th dimension, 6th dimension, 7th dimension, 8th dimension, 9th dimension, esoteric, ethereal worlds, places. When he had finished all the studies of the senior course, he went into the chamber of the dead that he might learn the ancient methods of preserving from decay the bodies of the dead, and here he wrought. Happy Sunday, Angel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Verse 4, and carriers brought the body of a widow's only son to be embalmed. The weeping mother followed close. Her grief was great, and Yeshua said, good woman, dry your tears. You follow but an empty house. Your son is in it not. So the body that you follow, your son, is not here again. On earth, Michael, Michelle, Donovan, Claire, whatever the names are, that is not the being. Those are just earthly identifications. Verse 6, you weep because your son is dead. Death is a cruel word. Your son can never die. Immortality confirmed here. Your son can never die. He had a task assigned to do in garb of flesh. Hot damn. I say it time and time again to the parents on this earth. You have a child that you were a vessel to giving life to, or man you contributed to giving life to. You do not own them. They are simply on loan to you. They are simply on loan to you. They have their own Akasha records. They have their own journey confirmation. Here is Yeshua saying the same thing. He had a task assigned to do in garb of flesh. He came, he did his work, and then he laid the flesh aside. He did not need it more or any more. Beyond your human sight, he has another work to do, and he will do it well, and then pass on to other tasks. And by, he will attain the crown of perfect life. This is why we come back from time to time. This is why we reincarnate here and in other realms. This is the reason why. And what your son has done and what he yet must do, we all must do. Now, if you harbor grief and give your sorrows vent, you will grow greater every day. They will absorb your very life until at last you will be naught but grief, or you will be nothing but grief, wet down with bitter tears, not realizing that the son that you call lost now, because they have passed on to new works, no longer here in the physical, because you will not release them to do so. Instead of helping him, you grieve your son by your deep grief. He seeks your solace now as he has ever done. Is glad when you are glad, is saddened when you grieve. Go bury deep your vows, or your woes, your woes, and smile at grief, and lose yourself in helping others dry their tears. Go heal others who are dealing with the loss of a child. With duty done comes happiness and joy, and gladness cheers the heart of those who have passed on. The weeping woman turned and went her way to find happiness in helpfulness, to find happiness in helpfulness. Okay? To bury deep, verse 14, to bury deep her sorrows in a ministry of joy. Then other carriers came and brought the body of a mother to the chamber of the dead, and just one mourner followed, she a girl of tender years. So someone who was young, a daughter who had lost her mother, who was very young. And as the cordage neared the door, the child observed a wounded bird in sore distress. A cruel hunter's dart had pierced its breast, and she left following the dead and went to help the living bird. This is a child, okay, who appears to be a little wiser than the woman who was weeping for her son. When tenderness, verse 18, when tenderness and love, with tenderness and love, she folded to her breast the wounded bird and then hurried to her place. And Yeshua said to her, why did you leave your dead to save a wounded bird? The maiden said, this lifeless body needs no help from me, from a young child or teenager or adolescent. This daughter is. This lifeless body needs no help from me, but I can help whilst yet life is. My mother taught me this. Kudos and shout out to the upright mothers and fathers out here who are teaching their children the truth, the divine truth. Shout out to all the upright mothers and fathers out here who are teaching their sons and their daughters the divine truth. She says, my mother taught me this. My mother taught that grief and selfish love and hopes and fears are but reflexes from the lower self, that what we sense are but small waves upon the rolling billows of life. Verse 23, these all will pass away. They are unreal. Tears flow from hearts of flesh. The spirit never weeps. The spirit never weeps. And I am longing for the day when I will walk in light, where tears are wiped away. My mother taught that all emotions are the sprays that rise from human loves and hopes and fears. That perfect bliss cannot be ours till we have conquered these. Until we have conquered these, perfect bliss cannot be ours. So until we learn to control the emotions, perfect bliss cannot be ours. Confirmation with whatever that noise was. And in the presence of that child did Yeshua bow his head in reverence. He said, for the days and months and years I've sought to learn this highest truth that man can learn on earth, and here a child fresh brought to earth has told it all in one short breath. Verse 28, no wonder David said, O Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength. And then he laid his hand upon the maiden's head and said, I'm sure the blessings of my Father God will rest upon you, child, forevermore. Okay. Hello, sweet Gail. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right. Yes, that is true. Okay. And what I believe is that there is a season, there is a time of grieving, and that's okay. But not to remain as the woman did in the earlier chapter or in the earlier part of that chapter, not to remain in that grief. Okay. Not to remain there, but there comes a point in time where you celebrate them. You rejoice that you had the opportunity to give birth to them, to contribute to their life, man. You rejoice in the opportunity, and you recognize it was but a season, but a time, but a journey. I am recalling something Vanessa Bryant said, which was just beautiful. Beautiful, the way that she spoke about Kobe and Gianna after that plane crash on 1/26 of 2000. She said, Justice League 55 years wise, she said, there was no way that they could have left here separately. She said they were meant to go together. They were meant to travel on together. Wherever that next place is, they were meant to go there together. So she grieved the physical loss of them, and then at some point she stood up, dusted herself off, and said, I understand the journey. Extremely wise and mature of her to get to that place where she could release them to go on to other journeys. Again, because Kobe was on loan to her, Gianna was on loan to her. She understood this, even though she and Kobe gave birth to Gianna. She understood this at some point. Extremely mature. And we are in chapter 5. I'm talking about her. She was birthed on May 5th. She was born on May 5th as we start chapter 55. Yeshua passes the seventh brotherhood test, and in the purple room of the temple receives the seventh, the highest degree, the Christ. He leaves the temple a conqueror. Verse 1, the work of Yeshua in the chamber of the dead was done, and in the temple purple room he stood before the Hierophant. And he was clothed in purple robes, and all the brothers stood. The Hierophant arose and said, this is a royal day for all the hosts of Israel. In honor of their chosen son, we celebrate the great Passover feast. And then he said to Yeshua, brother man, most excellent of men, in all the temple tests you have won out. Let it be said of you and me, collective. Let it be said of you and me. Let it be said of you and me. And all the temple tests, and all your tests, all your trials, all that was thrown at you, you have won out. Okay? I hear you, Justice League. Okay? That's also Gianna's birthday, May 1st. May 1st is Gianna's birthday that lifetime. Verse 6, 6 times before the bar of right you have been judged. 6 times you have received the highest honors man can give. And now stand prepared to take the last degree. Upon your brow I place this diadem. Upon your brow I place this diadem. And in the great lodges of the heavens and earth, you are the Christ. You are the chosen one. This is your great Passover, right? You are a neophyte no more. You are a neophyte no more, but now a mastermind. Now man can do no more. I said something recently, and then it's in a short. All that man has done to me, okay, in this journey, taking the first wife, witchcraft, stealing me from the biological father as an infant, all that man has done to me, witchcraft to cause kidney failure, 4.5 years of dialysis, all that man has done to me, all of the witchcraft, all that man has done to me, man can do nothing else to me. This is why I stand unafraid today. I hope this is your energy. And if it isn't, it certainly can become. Man can do nothing else to me. What can man do to me today? Okay? What can they do that they have not done already? Okay? Confirmation on the ascended master energy. Now, verse 8, man can do no more, but God himself will speak and will confirm your title and degree. Go on your way, for you must preach the gospel of goodwill to men and peace on earth, must open up the prison doors and set the captives free. And while the Hierophant yet spoke, the temple bells rang out. A pure white dove descended from above and sat on Yeshua's head. How divine. And then a voice that shook the very temple said, "This is the Christ." And every living creature said, Amen. The great doors of the temple swung ajar. The Logos, or Logos 7 circle, Yeshua journeyed on his way a conqueror. Journeyed on his way a conqueror. Okay? We are going to get into the next section. This is section 7, or excuse me, section 12 of the Aquarian Gospel. And this speaks to the council of the 7 sages of the world. The council of the 7 sages of the world. Our next class. Okay. Hello, Sean. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our next class will be on the 7 spirits of divine source, and they will include the 7 sages of the world, amongst other 7s. Verse 20, or chapter 56. The 7 sages of the world meet in Alexandria. Alexandria, Virginia, Alexandria, somewhere else on this planet could resonate for you. You could be Alexandria, first, middle, last name, Alexandria, or be connected to one. The purposes of the meeting, the opening addresses. In every age, since time began, have 7 sages lived. 7 sages. Even today, confirmation, even today, 7 sages here, somewhere, amongst us. In every age, since time began, 7 sages lived. At first of every age, these sages meet to note the course of nations, peoples, tribes, and tongues, to note how far toward justice, love, and righteousness the race has gone. What race? The human race. To note how far toward justice, love, and righteousness the race, human race, has gone. To formulate the code of laws, religious postulates, and plans of rule best suited to the coming age. Hello, Nora. Thank you so much for tuning in. Verse 5, an age had passed, and lo, another age had come. The sages must convene. The sages must convene. Yes, the only race is the human race, okay? The only race is the human race. If it were true, side note, if it were true that man really truly did not care about your race and the color or shade of your skin, they would not be asking you, what is your race, on a job application? What is your ethnicity on a job application? It would not be printed on your driver's license. If man truly understood that there was only one race, man would not have to identify individuals based on the shade of their skin. But man is racist. Man is dogmatic. So they want to know, what race are you? You're filling out this job application. What's your race? They want to know. On your driver's license, on your birth certificate, what race are you? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Verse 6. Now, Alexandria was the center of the world's best thought, and here in Philo's home, the sages met. From China, from China, from China, the place China is not mentioned anywhere between Genesis and Revelation. From China, the Ming State. From India, Vindhyapati, came. From Persia, Caspar came. And from Assyria, Ashbina. These are beings, sages, that Yeshua met earlier in his journey between the ages of 12 and 30. So all of these master sages, all of these master teachers from all of these countries came together again back then, okay? Came together for the 7 sages. It represented the 7 sages. From Greece, Apollo. Yeshua met with Apollo earlier, okay? Matheno was the Egyptian sage, and Philo was the chief of Hebrew thought. The chief of Hebrew thought. Okay? Confirmation, Charlotte. Whenever I was applying for jobs, whenever someone would have on the application, right? It'd be interesting what would happen if you put that on a piece of paper and said, I'm a star seed. If you said, I'm an earth angel, like what would they say, right? I'm a healer. I'm Egyptian shamanic. Like, what would they say? I'm a Palladian star seed. What would they say? Interesting. So I would always check or circle multiple races. Okay, so they would have Black or African, they would have white, Caucasian, they would have Alaskan, they would have non-Hispanic something or other, they would have all these things. I always check multiple races. That's the selection that I always made on an application, computer or a piece of paper, whichever it was. Okay. Verse 8, the time was due. The council met and sat in silence 7 days. And then Mingse arose and said, the wheel of time has turned once more. The race is on a higher plane of thought. The garments that our fathers wove have given out. Those things that they taught us no longer serve the people, no longer serve the nations. Some of us need to put down what our grandmother taught us. Some of us need to put down what our daddy, what our mama, what our guardians taught us, because those teachings have run their course and in some cases have been proven completely false. The cherubim have woven a celestial cloth, have placed it in our hands, and we must make for men new garbs spiritually. The sons of men are looking up for greater light. No longer do they care for gods hewn or made, created out of wood or made of clay. They seek a God not made with hands. They see the beams of coming day, and yet they comprehend them not. The time is ripe, and we must fashion well these garments for the race. And let us make for men new garbs of justice, mercy, righteousness, and love, that they may hide their nakedness when shines the light of coming day. And Vidyapati said, our priests Verse 15, have all gone mad. They saw a demon in the wilds, and at him cast their lamps, and they are broken up. And not a gleam of light has any priest for man. The night is dark. The heart of India calls for light. The heart of India calls for light. The priesthood cannot be reformed. It is already dead. Its greatest needs are graves and funeral chants. Okay? Sounds like the fat lady has sung. Okay? Amazing grace. Sounds like it. Sounds like it. The priesthood is dead. Cannot be reformed. The religiousness is dead. Cannot be reformed. The new age calls for liberty. The kind that makes each man a priest, enables him to go alone, hermit mode, and lay his offerings on the shrine of divine or God. And Casper said, in Persia, people walk in fear. They do the good for fear to do the wrong. The devil is the greatest power in all our land. Wow. Wow. And though a myth, he dandles on his knee both youth and young. Though a myth, the devil, though a myth. They all are at church, even right now, Justice League. They're all at church right now, hearing about Yeshua and how they were silenced for 18 years and how they didn't go to India, they didn't go to Persia, they didn't go to Egypt, how they just sat and made furniture for 18 years. They're all in church. Verse 21, our land is dark, Casper is saying about Persia. Our land is dark, and evil prospers in the dark. Fear rides on every passing breed and lurks in every form of life. The fear of evil is a myth and is an illusion and a snare. Love it. And live until some mighty power shall come to raise ethers, to raise the ethers, to raise that look at that, let me zoom in. That word right there, that it says ethers. Raise the ethers. To the plane of light. When this shall come to pass, the Magian land will glory in the light. The soul of Persia calls out for the light. Chapter 57. Meeting of the sages continued, opening addresses, Yeshua with the sages, 7 days silence. And Ashbina, another sage that Yeshua traveled with through Assyria, said, Ashbina said, Assyria is the land of doubt. So they're all giving reports on their land, the conditions of their land, the condition of their nations. These are the people. The nations are the people. When they mean land, they mean land. When they say nations, they mean the people, the race. The chariot of my people, that in which they mostly ride, is labeled doubt. Once faith walked forth in Babylon, and she was bright and fair at one point in time, but she was clothed in such white robes that men became afraid of her. Yeah, definitely. Okay. I've said many times, speaking to what Justice League is saying here in the chat about environmental engineering, the mother of Gaia. And I've said many times for a long time that Gaia has been asleep for many, many years. Many, many years, Gaia has been asleep. And there is coming a time when Gaia will reawaken. Okay? Gaia does not produce as Gaia is supposed to produce. Why? Because man has abused Gaia. Okay? So there are lands all over this planet that do not produce as they are meant to produce. Many of these lands are in Africa. Okay? And in Eastern countries. Okay? Does not produce as they are supposed to. Desolate, dormant, dried out, okay, ground cracking types of places. Verse 3. And every will began to turn, and doubt made war on her, and drove her from the land, and she came back no more. In form, men worship God, the one. In heart, they are not sure that God exists. In form, men worship God. So in their acts, they go to church. In their acts, they say, thank you, Lord. But in their heart, they are not sure that divine even exists. Faith worships at the shrine of one not seen, but doubt must see her God. Doubt must see before doubt believes. Faith believes without seeing. The greatest need of all Assyria is faith, a faith that seasons everything that is with certainty. And then Apollo said, the greatest needs of Greece are true concepts of divine source of God. Theogony in Greece is rudderless, okay, has no power. A boat without a rudder, okay, is just bobbing on the water. For every thought may be a god and worshipped as a god. The plane of thought is broad and full of sharp antagonists. And so the circle of the gods is filled with enmity, with wars and base intrigues, base, shallow, low vibrational intrigues. Greece needs a mastermind to stand above the gods, to raise the thoughts of man away from many gods to God the One, the great I Am, Eravat, as they are mentioned in the book of Enoch, Eravat Avarat. We know that light is coming o'er the hills. Godspeed the light, Godspeed the light. Matheno said, behold this land of mystery, this Egypt of the dead. Our temples long have been the tombs of all the hidden things of time. They're tombs in Egypt that have hidden the secret things of time, or the truth. Our temples, crypts, and caves are dark. In light, there are no secret things. In light, there are no secret things. The sun reveals all hidden truth. There are no mysteries in divine source. Most High is not one who dangles the carrot and you never receive the gift. You never receive the wisdom. You never receive the promise. That is not divine source. Religion teaches you in the sweet by and by. When I die and go to heaven, What a day of rejoicing that will be. That's what religion teaches you. Divine source says, no, you can be the glory, have the glory right now where you are. Revving of a motorcycle confirmation. Behold the rising sun. His beams are entering every door, yea, every crevice of the mystic crypts of the Mizoram, or of Mizoram. We hail the light. All Egypt craves the light. All Egypt craves the light. And Philo said, the need of Hebrew thought and life is liberty. Liberty. Verse 18, the Hebrew prophets, seers, and givers of the law were men of power, men of holy thought, and they bequeathed to us a system of philosophy that was ideal, one strong enough and good enough to lead our people to the goal of perfectness. And that perfectness is not as man defines it, as I've recently mentioned in a live. That perfectness speaks to obedience, willingness to pursue the truth. Live it, be it, drink it, the truth. Okay? That doesn't mean you get 100 out of 100 on a test. That's not what perfection is by divine's definition. Verse 19, but carnal minds repudiated holiness. A priesthood filled with selfishness arose, and purity in heart became a myth. The people were enslaved. The priesthood is the curse of Israel, but when he comes, who is to come, he will proclaim emancipation for the slaves. Mariah Carey released an album called The Emancipation of Mimi, I believe. Mariah Carey. My people will be free. Behold, God made incarnate wisdom, love, and light, which he has called Emmanuel. Emmanuel. Incarnate, wisdom, love, and light. And the name of that being is Emmanuel. To him is given the keys to open up the dawn, and here, as man, he walks with us. And then the council chamber door was opened, and the Logos, that is Yeshua, stood among the sages of the world. Again, the sages sat in silence 7 days. Okay? So we will go ahead and we will finish it there again. We do an hour of reading, studying, thought on the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so when we venture next Sunday, when we venture into chapter 58 and beyond, we will first start out with the meeting of the sages, continued presentation of the 7 universal postulates. The 7 universal postulates. Okay? So thank you so much, everyone who's tuned in to this Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua. Again, this was released in 1908. You can download the PDF today. I am thankful that Divine Source placed this in my lap to share with us. I don't know how many weeks ago, 6, 7 weeks ago, however long it's been since we've been studying this canonical text. Translated and released in 1908 by E.S.DOWLING Publishing. Thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in. So many of you are regular listeners on the channel throughout the week. Happy Sunday to you. Whatever it is you're doing, wherever you're involved in. 17 in the room and 8 likes. That is an 8-8. Okay? What time is it? It is exactly 10 o'clock in the evening. It just turned 10:01 here in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam in the evening. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Your favorite show, Lakeisha. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nora, Justice League, Charlotte, Sherry. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sean, thank you so much for tuning in. All right. Thank you so much. Sweet Gail, thank you so much. Angel, thank you so much for tuning in to this collective reading. My name is Nehru, and as always, be encouraged.